I like that one because it's orange. What's up guys, Jeff from Worldwide Cyclery here, and we are going to go over a little comparison between two gorgeous stallions, the Yeti SB4.5 and the Evil the Following MB. I think that stands for more better. All right, so these two bikes, I guess you could call these mid-travel 29ers these days. So I guess a short travel would be like a 100 mil travel cross-country bike, and a long travel might be like a 140, 160 travel 29er. But travel-wise on these bikes, the SB4.5, it's 4.5 inches or 114 millimeters, and the Following is about 5 inches, 120 millimeters. So mid-travel 29ers, both of these bikes. These bikes often get compared together because they're both 29ers and they're both in a really close travel range. We're not going to go over all the crazy technical details, the differences between these bikes in this video. There'll be a link below to a blog post that has a little bit more in-depth comparisons when it comes to geometry, when you're talking angles and chainstay length and all that sort of stuff. But we will kind of go over some of the key points that I think matter when you're comparing both of these bikes. I've spent several hours riding each one of these. I adore them both, but they do have their differences. And the key differences that I feel in between these two bikes kind of does boil back down to the ethos of the companies, right? So Yeti is a long-time race-bred company, race-bred, race-built, hand-built race-bred. That's all built into their slogan. They've always supported race teams and professional racers, and that's something that Yeti really stands for and is known for. And when it comes to mountain bike racing, obviously you're going to think lightweight, pedal-efficient bikes, and that's what Yeti has absolutely achieved. The 4.5 is going to be, I think it's a pound, maybe a little over a pound lighter than the Following MB, and we're talking just the frames here. And part of that does have to do with the shock as well. You can tell the 4.5 comes with a shock that doesn't have a piggyback reservoir like the Following MB does, so there's a little weight added in there, but you can tell by just looking at both frames. So the Yeti is thinner, more streamlined, and there's just less carbon going on, whereas the Following, it's got a lot more carbon, a lot beefier chainstay, a lot beefier just lower midsection, where they've really added a lot of carbon for stiffness and strength. So Yeti's sort of brand identity has to do with pedal efficiency and lightweight race bikes, whereas Evil is, I wouldn't say the opposite, but just different. Evil, they're sort of more of the pedal up a fire road and shred down a hill, ride bike parks, build just burly, strong bikes that you can just, you know, hit massive jumps and do whips and land sideways and crash the thing and throw it off a cliff and pick it back up. And it's just sort of a different ideology to the way they build bikes, which is why the Following is going to be a good bit heavier and probably a little bit stiffer too. So I think a lot of what's going on in the Following when it comes to their particular suspension design and where they lay carbon and how much they lay does make the frame a little bit stiffer. I wouldn't say a lot. The Yeti is surprisingly stiff, especially when you compare how light the thing is in comparison to all the other bikes out there. But Evil's additional weight and additional sort of brute strength that they build into all of their bikes, including the Following, again, it's part of what they're all about. They're all about, you know, playful bikes that you can just go out and shred on and send huge jumps, and that's kind of, again, their ethos. It's different than Yetis, and not one's better than the other, but it does kind of matter what fits you. Are you going out and are you riding trails and you're really concerned about, you know, getting your PRs on Strava, or you know, maybe doing sort of general enduro races? You know, kind of depends on what you're looking for out of a bike. So Yeti for sure, because it's lighter. I do think it does pedal better. Following does pedal great too, but I think pedaling platform-wise on the Yeti, when it just comes to like raw climbing, and if you were to ask me, hey, what bike do you want to take out for a 25-mile ride that's, you know, mostly fairly smoothish, fun, general trail riding, I would pick the 4.5. Whereas if it's like, hey, we're going to go ride a bike park that's pretty smooth, but it's got a bunch of jumps, I'd be like, oh, I'll definitely ride the following instead. So following, a little bit shorter chainstay. I believe it's about 7 millimeters. So a little bit more playful of a bike, a little bit more flickable, shorter wheelbase, shorter chainstay, kind of more of like that poppy, hop around, break the rear tire loose style bike. Whereas, the Yeti, of course, can achieve that as well, but it's a little bit more naturally, more natural tendency to be kind of like a point and shoot fast bike. Of course, you can ride either of them either way depending on your style, but if you would classify yourself as someone who really likes to do manuals and wheelies and cutties and drifts and break your wheel loose, you might have a little more fun on the following than you would the Yeti. If you're someone who thinks, wow, I'm really going for efficiency and speed, and I like my bike to be lightweight and feel really fast under me, and you're not really someone who leaves the ground very often, then the Yeti might be more your cup of tea. So it kind of depends on who you are and your particular riding style and where you ride. So although these bikes do have very similar travel ranges and the same wheel size, you can see like how these are built up right here, kind of the use case for both bikes, right? So 4.5s with Yeti's spec kit have Maxxis Ardent tires. I don't know what Evil specs there's with, that's a custom build, but they're typically like beefier, more downhill style tires, because again, the following, a lot of people are using that bike for basically downhill trails and bike parks, whereas 4.5's getting used for pretty common like general trail stuff, anywhere from like cross-country trails to general trail riding. And of course, the thing's very capable and you can push it really far. And there's another guy on YouTube who shreds a 4.5, Nate Hills. If you look his videos up, he's got a 4.5. I don't know the dude personally, but I watch his YouTube videos and the guy absolutely shreds. A lot of the videos he's got his 4.5 on there, and you would be incredibly surprised at what he does with the thing. So don't get me wrong, just by saying that the bike is a little bit less aggressive and hardcore than the following is, it can still absolutely be ridden pretty crazy. So both bikes extremely capable and fun trail bikes. Back to sort of the differences in how these things are built and weight and all that sort of stuff. A couple of the key differences and complaints that we hear, I wouldn't call them complaints, but just key differences that people are comparing when they're looking at these bikes. And it makes sense too, right? So what I've said so far about Evil, you might assume that, oh, the bike has a built-in chain guide and it has 2 lower tabs so you can bolt on a bash guard and a lower chain guide. So you can get a full chain guide and bash guard on the following, which is awesome. And again, it fits the ethos and sort of the ideology of Evil bikes and how they build their bikes and how they intend them to be ridden and who's going to ride them. Yeti 4.5, it doesn't have any of that. So the 4.5 does not have ISCG tabs, so you can't put a chain guide on there and you can't put a bash guard on there. So that's definitely something to consider. If you smash your chainring all the time, you might really want to run a bash guard, but you can on the 4.5 and you can on the following. So again, something to consider. Water bottle mounts, this is a funny topic on Pink Bike. People love to just hate on Yeti for this. A lot of different suspension designs just can't accommodate a water bottle fitting where you kind of think it should be. You can mount a water bottle on a Yeti down here. It tends to then get covered in mud from your tire. A lot of people don't care. Some people run hydration packs, myself included. I don't ride a water bottle on my bike, but a lot of people do. Following, you can stuff a water bottle in there. So that's something to consider. I don't really think at all that you should be choosing which bike you want based on if you can use a water bottle or not. That's my opinion. I think that you should pick a bike based on the trails you ride most often, the bike that fits your riding style, and the one that you rode that you just feel like you have the most fun on. Because after all, mountain biking is about fun. So it's about riding different bikes and seeing which one really resonates with you and which one that puts the biggest smile on your face and makes the most sense for you, where you ride and how you ride. So something I always suggest when it comes to buying a bike, especially if you're kind of in between two similar bikes like these two, is if you can, ride both of them before you actually, pull the trigger and make a decision on one. We have both of these bikes available in both of our shops for demo, so you can get out there and ride these things and spend some time on each one of them and really, get that feel for yourself. As much as you can watch different YouTube videos and listen to my opinion, it's best for you to just go out there and ride the bike. And I know not everyone has that luxury, but if you can, if you happen to have a buddy who has each one of these, or you're near one of our stores or any other shops that might have these things for demo, that's really your best bet, is get out there, ride the bikes, see which one feels the best for you and is going to, you know, ride the best on your home trails and make you the most stoked, because that's what mountain biking is all about. Thank you guys for watching. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know which bike you like better, which one you'd buy, which one you already have. Feel free to subscribe as well. We're trying to make more cool mountain bike content that's relevant and comparisons and stuff like this. See you guys in the next one.